I slept with Marcus, my personal trainer, 3 times before he even knew my husband existed. Everyone thinks I'm the villain here, and technically they're right, but they don't understand that what hurts most isn't the guilt. It's watching him fall in love with her. The real consequences aren't what people assume. Sure, my marriage imploded, and yes, I destroyed my reputation at the one place I felt confident. But the actual torture is this: twice a week, I have to watch the man who once whispered that I was beautiful now looking at Sarah, my former best friend, the way I desperately wanted my husband to look at me. And everyone at Momentum Fitness knows exactly what I did to deserve this hell. I'm going to tell you everything: the affair, the confession, and the one decision I made that night that nobody knows about. The thing that guaranteed I'd have to witness their happiness every single time I walk through those gym doors. Because what I did after everything fell apart was so much worse than the cheating itself. I joined Momentum Fitness in January, right after finding out Jake had gotten another promotion I'd have to celebrate while secretly resenting. We'd been married 6 years, and somewhere along the way, I'd become the supporting character in his story. He traveled constantly for work, came home exhausted, and treated our conversations like obligations to check off between emails. The gym was supposed to be mine, something that belonged to me. I wasn't trying to get Jake's attention anymore. I'd tried that before with new haircuts, surprise dinners, lingerie that stayed in the drawer because he was too tired. The gym was about feeling powerful in my own skin, even if that skin was just existing in the background of my husband's increasingly important life. Marcus was assigned as my trainer during the intro session. He was 28, 4 years younger than me, with the kind of easy confidence that comes from a body you actually use, not just maintain for show. But that's not what got me. It was the attention. He remembered everything I said. When I mentioned I loved hiking but Jake was always too busy, Marcus spent 10 minutes telling me about trails he'd discovered. When I said I felt invisible sometimes, he looked directly at me and said, "I don't see how that's possible." I told myself it was just good customer service. Sarah started coming to the same gym in February. We'd been close since college, though lately our friendship had become more about coordinated gym schedules than actual intimacy. She was going through a divorce, and I suggested Momentum might help her feel better. She met Marcus during one of my sessions, and I watched his professional smile appear, the same one he gave everyone. I told myself I liked that he treated her the same as everyone else. I told myself I wasn't comparing. By March, I was booking sessions 3 times a week. Jake barely noticed the credit card charges. Marcus and I talked more than Jake and I did. He asked about my day. He laughed at my jokes. He touched my shoulder when correcting my form, and those touches started lasting longer. The first time we crossed a line, I'd convinced myself we were just talking. It was after an evening session, the gym nearly empty. I'd mentioned Jake forgot our anniversary was coming up. Marcus said, "How does someone forget you?" And the way he said it, like forgetting me was impossible, made something crack open inside my chest. I kissed him, just leaned forward and pressed my mouth to his, and after one surprised second, he kissed me back. We didn't sleep together that night, but we both knew we would. I drove home shaking, equal parts terrified and alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. Jake was in Seattle. I crawled into our empty bed and told myself it was just a kiss, that it didn't have to mean anything. The second line we crossed happened the following week. Marcus texted me. We'd exchanged numbers for scheduling, asking if I wanted to grab coffee after my session. We both knew it wasn't about coffee. We went to his apartment instead. I told myself I'd stop after once, that I'd gotten it out of my system, this need to feel wanted. But Marcus texted me that night, "Can't stop thinking about you." And Jake texted exactly 12 minutes later, "Landing delayed. Won't be home until tomorrow." The contrast was so stark it almost made me laugh. We slept together twice more over the next 2 weeks. I was careful. Different clothing when I left the gym, checking my phone obsessively, making sure I got home with enough time to shower before Jake did. Marcus never pushed for more than I offered. He seemed content with whatever pieces of time I could steal. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt seen. Sarah started training with Marcus in early April. She mentioned it casually one day. She'd liked his approach during that session she'd observed. Thought he might help her feel strong again after her divorce. I smiled and said he was great, professional, really knew his stuff. What I didn't say, I could still feel his hands on my waist from that morning. I convinced myself it was fine. Marcus was her trainer, same as he was mine. Except I started noticing things. The way she laughed during their sessions, how she'd stay after to talk to him, the same way I used to before we crossed that line. During one of my sessions, I mentioned Sarah seemed happier lately. Marcus said, "Yeah, she's making real progress. Really positive energy, you know?" Positive energy. Like that was something special. I went home and picked a fight with Jake about dishes in the sink. He looked at me like I was a stranger having a breakdown over nothing, which made me angrier because he wasn't entirely wrong. The affair continued through April. Marcus never mentioned Sarah during our stolen hours together, and I didn't ask. We existed in this bubble where he made me feel beautiful, and I pretended my marriage wasn't disintegrating from neglect and my own choices. But I started watching them at the gym. I'd time my workouts to overlap with Sarah's sessions, just to confirm there was nothing there. I noticed Marcus touched her shoulder, the same way he touched mine during corrections. Professional, appropriate, exactly what a trainer should do. It made me furious anyway. During one session in late April, Marcus mentioned he was thinking about signing up for a trail marathon. Remember those hiking trails we talked about? There's a race through one of them. The way he said, "we talked about," like it was ours. That conversation, that shared thing made me bold. I showed up at his apartment that night without texting first. We had sex, and afterward, lying in his bed, I almost told him I was thinking about leaving Jake. Almost asked what we were doing, where this was going. Instead, I asked if he was seeing anyone else. Marcus went quiet for a long moment. Then, we've never really talked about what this is. Are you asking if I'm sleeping with other people? I guess I am. No, he said, just you. He didn't ask if Jake counted. We both already knew that answer existed in a different category. I left feeling satisfied, like I'd secured something, like I had a claim. I didn't realize I'd asked the wrong question. In May, Sarah started mentioning Marcus more often. Marcus thinks I should try hiking to build endurance. Marcus said I've gotten so much stronger. It was innocent, enthusiasm about fitness progress. But I heard my own voice from months earlier. That same bright tone when talking about someone who made you feel capable. During one of my sessions, I asked Marcus directly, "Are you training Sarah the same way you train me?" He looked confused. "I customize every client's program. Why?" "Just wondering. She talks about you a lot." Something crossed his face, awareness maybe. She's a good client. Committed. Committed. Another word that sounded too significant. I went home and searched through Jake's laptop for evidence he was cheating on me. I don't know what I thought I'd find. Permission, maybe. Proof that I wasn't the only villain. But his browser history was just work documents and flights, and extremely boring emails about quarterly projections. The irony wasn't lost on me. I slept with Marcus again that week, and this time I was different. Urgent. Almost desperate. Trying to reclaim whatever I thought Sarah might be threatening to take. Afterward, he asked if I was okay. Fine, I lied. Jake's just been distant lately. Marcus stroked my hair. You deserve better than distant. I wanted to ask what he thought I deserved, if he thought I deserved him. Instead, I left before he could see me cry. The following week, Jake actually came home early, a rarity. He suggested we have dinner together, just us. I said yes because saying no would require explanation. We sat across from each other at our favorite Italian place, and he talked about work while I thought about Marcus's hands and wondered what that said about me. You seem distracted, Jake said, and I snapped back to attention. Just tired, been working out a lot. That's good, you look great actually. I should have said that earlier. He smiled like he'd given me a gift. 6 months ago, that compliment would have sustained me for weeks. Now it felt like spare change dropped in a cup when what I needed was something I couldn't name. I almost confessed everything right then, just to see if Jake would fight for me, if he'd care enough to be angry. But I looked at his face, kind, distracted, already mentally back at work, and kept my mouth shut. Sarah invited me to lunch in mid-May. We met at the cafe near Momentum, and she glowed in a way I hadn't seen since before her divorce. I have to tell you something, she said, leaning forward with barely contained excitement. My stomach dropped. I think I'm falling for someone. It's early, and I don't want to jinx it. But God, I haven't felt like this in years. Who? I asked, though I already knew. It's Marcus, from the gym. I know the trainer thing is such a cliche. But we've been talking outside of sessions, and he's just different. He actually listens. He makes me feel like I matter. Every word was a knife. Not because they were original, but because they were mine. The exact things I'd been feeling. The exact reasons I'd fallen into this mess. That's great, I heard myself say. Really great. Sarah grabbed my hand. I wanted to tell you first, since you introduced us, in a way. You're the best friend I could ask for. I smiled until my face hurt. That night, I showed up at Marcus's apartment unannounced again. He answered the door looking surprised, maybe wary. We need to talk, I said. Okay, come in. I stood in his living room, the same place we'd been tangled together dozens of times, and asked, Are you dating Sarah? Marcus's expression shifted, caught. We've been on a few dates. I was going to tell you. When? After you slept with her too. That's not fair. You and I never defined what this was. You're married. You said you weren't seeing anyone else. I wasn't, then. But Sarah is. She's available, and she's honest about what she wants. And, he stopped himself. And what? And I'm not? Say it. You won't leave your husband. You've never even hinted you would. What did you think this was going to be? Forever sneaking around. The truth of it hit like a slap. I had never once suggested leaving Jake. Not because I loved my husband so much, but because having them both felt safer than choosing either one. So you're choosing her. I'm choosing to date someone who can actually date me back. That's not the same thing. I should have left then. Instead, I stepped closer. Do you have feelings for me? Marcus looked pained. That's not the point. Do you? Yes. But Sarah she's ready for something real. And you're not. I kissed him then, desperate and grasping. He kissed me back for maybe 3 seconds before pulling away. You should go, he said quietly. I went home and told Jake I wanted a divorce. It wasn't planned. It just came out, sitting on our couch, my husband looking up from his laptop with complete incomprehension. What? Why? Where is this coming from? I'm not happy. I haven't been happy in years. So we'll work on it. We can do therapy. I'll travel less. I slept with someone else. The words landed between us like a grenade. Jake's face went through several emotions before settling on devastated. Who? My trainer. Marcus. It's been going on for 2 months. Is it serious? Are you in love with him? The question I'd been avoiding. I don't know. But I know us isn't working. Jake cried. I'd never seen him cry before. He asked if we could fix it. If the affair was over, if I'd cut contact. Standard questions from the script of betrayed spouses everywhere. I said yes to ending the affair. I didn't mention that Marcus had already ended it for me. We agreed to separate while we figured things out. Jake moved to a hotel, then a short-term rental. I stayed in our house, surrounded by evidence of our life together, and felt nothing but relief that I didn't have to pretend anymore. I texted Marcus. I told Jake I'm leaving him. He didn't respond. I called. Voicemail. Finally, hours later, I'm glad you're doing what's right for you, but that doesn't change things between us. I'm seeing Sarah. The rejection was clean and absolute. I'd blown up my marriage for nothing. Sarah found out about the affair 2 days later. Not from me. I was still trying to figure out how to tell her. What words could possibly make it acceptable? She found out from Marcus, who apparently believed in honesty with the women he was actually dating. She showed up at my house at 9 p.m., her face blotchy from crying. How could you do this to me? Sarah, I'm so sorry. You knew I had feelings for him, and you said nothing. You let me tell you about him while you were sleeping with him. What kind of person does that? The kind of person I apparently was. It was over before you two got together. I ended it. Marcus said you showed up at his apartment and tried to convince him to keep seeing you, after he'd already told you about me. That's not ending it. That's being a terrible friend and a terrible person. She was right. But I was still desperate to make her understand. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was confused about my marriage, and Marcus made me feel. I don't care what he made you feel. You used him. And then when he moved on to someone emotionally available, you couldn't handle it. So you blew up your marriage like that would change his mind. Her words cut deep because they were partially true. I had told Jake immediately after Marcus rejected me. The timing wasn't coincidence. Are you still training with him? Sarah asked. I haven't been to the gym since. Good. Because if you come near him or me, everyone will know exactly what you did. The affair, the betrayal, all of it. I'll make sure everyone at Momentum knows you're the kind of woman who fucks her trainer while her husband's out of town and then stabs her best friend in the back. She left, and I sat alone in my too big house, understanding with perfect clarity that I destroyed everything for a relationship that had only ever existed in my head. Jake filed for divorce in June. Fast, clean, no contest. He didn't want the house or the furniture or anything that reminded him of us. He just wanted out. I saw him one last time to sign papers. He looked different, lighter somehow, like being away from me had removed a weight. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said. I almost laughed. I'd been looking for someone to make me feel valuable, and I'd found him. Marcus had done exactly that. The problem was, I'd wanted him to fix what was broken in my marriage, in myself. And when he couldn't, I destroyed everything anyway. By July, I was officially divorced and completely isolated. Sarah had indeed told people at the gym. Not everyone, but enough. The other regulars who'd been friendly now avoided me. The front desk staff were coldly professional. I should have switched gyms. Any rational person would have. But I'd already lost my marriage, my best friend, and my dignity. The gym was the last place I'd felt powerful. And I refused to surrender it too. So I went back. The first time I saw Marcus, after everything, he was training an elderly man through seated exercises. He glanced up, saw me, and his expression was carefully neutral, professional. Like I was just another member, not someone who'd been naked in his bed weeks earlier. I worked out on the opposite side of the gym, hyper-aware of his presence, and left as quickly as possible. Sarah started showing up around the same time as my sessions, whether on purpose or coincidence. I didn't know. She'd changed her schedule to train with Marcus 4 times a week now. I watched them between sets, hating myself for it. They were good together. Easy. She laughed at something he said, touched his arm casually, and he smiled at her the way I'd imagined he used to smile at me. Except now, I wondered if he'd ever smiled at me like that. Or if I'd just been so starved for attention that any smile felt like love. In August, I arrived at the gym to find them kissing near the front desk. Not hiding, not ashamed. Just two people openly affectionate. Their relationship progressing exactly how relationships do, when they're not built on betrayal and stolen hours. Marcus saw me see them. For a second, something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe, or pity. Then Sarah turned, followed his gaze, and her expression hardened. She kissed him again, longer this time, making a point. I went to the locker room and cried in a bathroom stall, muffling the sound with my hand, because I didn't deserve anyone's sympathy. The thing nobody knew, the decision I made that sealed my fate, happened that same week. My parents called to check on me. They'd heard about the divorce through Jake's family. Everyone appropriately scandalized. They offered to help me move back home, start over somewhere new. You don't have to keep punishing yourself, my mom said. Find a new gym, new friends. Put this behind you. It was practical advice, healthy advice. Instead, I renewed my annual membership at Momentum Fitness. Not just renewed, upgraded to unlimited sessions. My dad asked why I'd stay somewhere that made me miserable. I couldn't explain that leaving felt like admitting defeat, that watching Marcus and Sarah together was the punishment I deserved, that some twisted part of me needed to see exactly what I'd lost, what I'd destroyed, what I'd never actually had in the first place. I told my parents I'd made friends at that gym, liked the equipment, wasn't going to uproot my entire life over one mistake. The truth, I was choosing to suffer, deliberately, because suffering felt like penance, and penance felt like the only honest thing I'd done in months. By September, Marcus and Sarah were clearly serious. They held hands between training sessions. She brought him coffee. He kissed her forehead before starting their workouts. I learned their routines by heart. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Saturdays at 10 a.m. Sometimes, Sarah came to watch his other sessions, sitting on a bench with her phone, secure and unbothered. I scheduled my workouts around theirs at first, trying to avoid the torture. But then I stopped avoiding, started showing up exactly when I knew they'd be there. I told myself I was just maintaining my routine, that they didn't dictate my schedule. Really, I was picking at a wound, making sure it never healed. Other gym members noticed. I caught whispered conversations, pointed looks. One woman I'd been friendly with before approached me in the parking lot. "Can I ask you something? Why do you keep coming here? Everyone knows about everything. Don't you feel humiliated?" "This is my gym too," I said. "I'm not going to leave because other people have opinions about my personal life." She looked at me with something like pity. "It just seems like you're torturing yourself." She wasn't wrong. In October, I overheard Sarah telling another member she and Marcus were moving in together. She was excited, practically glowing. The other woman congratulated her, asked how they met. "At the gym," Sarah said. "He was my trainer, but we became friends first. He actually helped me through my divorce, just by being kind, you know? Making me remember I deserved to be treated well." I was close enough to hear every word while pretending to adjust a weight machine. "That's so sweet. Have you been together long?" "Since May, 6 months now. I know it's fast, but when it's right, it's right." May, the same month I'd shown up at his apartment, desperate and grasping, the same month he'd chosen her. The other woman said something else, but I'd stopped listening. I finished my workout in a haze, drove home, and sat in my car in my driveway for an hour. I could have left the gym at any point, could have canceled my membership, taken the financial hit, preserved what dignity I had left. Instead, I went online and booked a training session with Marcus. He called me 20 minutes later. I got your booking request. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? You're a trainer. I need training. You know why not. I'll pay your full rate. This is professional. Long silence. Then, if this is some attempt to, it's not. I want to get stronger, and you're good at your job. That's it. He sighed. One session. If it's weird, it doesn't happen again. Agreed. I showed up for that session in November, prepared to prove I was fine. Totally over everything. Marcus was rigidly professional. No personal conversation. No lingering touches. Just efficient instruction. Halfway through, Sarah appeared. She'd come early for her own session, saw us together, and her face went cold. Marcus immediately went to her, spoke in low tones I couldn't hear. She looked at me, then back at him, and I saw the moment she decided to trust him. They kissed. Right there. While I counted reps on a leg press. After Sarah left to change, Marcus came back. That was the wrong call, scheduling this. I don't think we should do it again. Because of Sarah? Because it's not fair to anyone. Not her, not you, not me. I'm not trying to interfere with your relationship. He looked at me with something like sadness. Then what are you doing? Honestly, why are you still coming to this gym? I didn't have an answer that made sense. The session ended early, by mutual agreement. I went home, and finally let myself cry properly, not controlled tears in bathroom stalls, but full-body sobs about everything I'd ruined. I didn't go back to the gym for 2 weeks, but I did go back. Because here's what I'd figured out. I needed to see them. Needed the reminder of what my choices cost. Needed to watch Marcus be happy with someone who hadn't lied to him, who hadn't used him to avoid her own broken marriage. I needed to know, every time I saw them together, that I deserved exactly this. The gym became my confessional. Every session was penance, not the exercise itself, but bearing witness to the relationship I derailed before it started. To the happiness I'd tried to prevent by sheer selfishness. In December, Marcus proposed to Sarah in the gym parking lot after a Saturday session. Someone posted a video to Instagram. Sarah's surprised face, Marcus on one knee, other gym members gathering to cheer. I saw it on my phone while sitting in my car, having just finished a workout. I'd been inside the building when it happened, had heard the commotion, but stayed on the treadmill. The video had 73 likes already. People commenting, heart emojis, and so happy for you both. Nobody knew I was watching. Nobody knew I was sitting 3 rows away in the parking lot. Seeing the moment Sarah said yes, watching Marcus slip a ring on her finger. Nobody knew I started laughing. Not happy laughter, but the hysterical kind that comes when irony becomes too heavy to carry any other way. I'd cheated with my trainer, told my husband, lost my marriage, my best friend, and any claim to being a good person. And my punishment was this, a front row seat to their happiness, self-imposed and permanent. I could still leave, could cancel my membership, find a new gym, let them be happy without my presence as a reminder of how they started. But I renewed for another year instead. My therapist, I'd started seeing one in November, asked me why I was so committed to this self-flagellation. Maybe I need to see it, I told her. Maybe I need to watch what happens when people choose honestly instead of hiding. Or maybe you're addicted to your own suffering, she countered, making yourself the victim of consequences you created. Probably both. The engagement announcement went up on Facebook in January, exactly 1 year after I joined Momentum. Sarah's ring was beautiful. The comments section was full of people congratulating them, saying they were perfect together, that everyone could see how in love they were. I didn't comment, didn't like it, just looked at the photos of them together at events I wasn't invited to, with friends who'd chosen sides, building a life I'd never be part of. And then I went to the gym for my regular Thursday session. They were there, as always. Sarah's ring caught the light during bicep curls. Marcus adjusted her form with the casual intimacy of someone who knew her body well, who had every right to touch her. I got on the elliptical across from them and worked out for exactly 45 minutes. Someone new, a guy I'd never seen before, set up on the machine next to me. After a few minutes, he nodded toward Marcus and Sarah. "Are they together? The trainer and that woman?"
"Yeah, engaged, actually." "That's cool. They seem happy."
"They are," I said. And they were. That was the worst part. Not that I'd been replaced, but that they were genuinely good together. Better than Marcus and I ever would have been, because their foundation wasn't built on lies and desperation. The new guy went back to his workout. I finished mine, showered, drove home to my too-quiet house. I'm telling you this now because yesterday, at the gym, I overheard Sarah telling someone their wedding date. June 14th, a Saturday. The same gym where we all met, where everything started and ended and continued. They're getting married in 6 months, and I'll still be there, still showing up twice a week to the scene of my worst decisions. People ask why I don't leave. My therapist asks. My parents ask. The few friends I have left ask. Here's what I can't explain. I stay because it's honest. Every session is a reminder that actions have consequences, that you don't get to betray people and walk away clean. I destroyed my marriage for an affair that was never going to be what I needed. I betrayed my best friend because I was too selfish to care about her feelings, and Marcus chose her because she offered him something real, while I only offered chaos. I stay because leaving would mean pretending I deserve to move on. And maybe I don't. Maybe I deserve exactly this, watching them build something beautiful from the ruins of what I tried to prevent. Or maybe my therapist is right, and I'm just addicted to my own suffering, too afraid to start over somewhere I'm not constantly reminded of who I was at my worst. Either way, I'll be at the gym on Saturday, same as always, and Marcus and Sarah will be there too, planning their wedding, living their lives, completely unaffected by my presence, except as an occasional uncomfortable reminder. Everyone thinks the punishment is that he's dating her, but the real punishment is that I'm the only one still suffering. They've moved on, they're happy, and I'm the one who chose to stay and watch, who keeps choosing it, who renewed her membership like signing a contract for her own torment. So yes, I cheated with my trainer, and yes, he's dating my former best friend. And yes, they both go to my gym. But the worst part, the thing I'm most ashamed of, is that I could leave any time, and instead I stay. Deliberately, repeatedly. I guess I'm asking, does that make me the villain, or just pathetic? Or is there no difference anymore?